Okay, this morning we're going to be making succulent flowers, following my post on the group. I've used various sort of flower images from Design Space, and actually you can get different looks from the same image. So I'm showing you the ones that I used. I put them all together slightly differently, and depending on how you curve the leaves, will give a different look. So I'm going to start with this one down here. Hopefully you can see that. I've already inked the edges on this one, but I've got one that I'll show you where I ink, or how I ink it. So for this one here, I curve the leaves up the way. I don't know if you can see that there, the leaves are curving up the way. You can curve them back the way, whatever way you want, depending on what look you want. And like I say, you can get a different look from the same image, which is quite good. And all I've actually used using a quilling tool here, for the simple reason that it's sort of got different circumferences, which makes it better for sort of rolling smaller parts. And all I do just to roll them up is just hold it on the end and just kind of roll it round, and that starts to curve it up. And this doesn't need very much, this one. And by using something rounded, it means it doesn't sort of bend and fold and crease. I'll just do this as quickly as I can. This one's going to go together with foam pads. And to be honest, I don't really know how this one's expected to go together with this join in the middle there, but I just sit this bit flat. So this is the base part, the one with the cut in it. I'm just going to take a sheet of foam pads and just start building this up. Try and do it quite quickly. I'll just put the first one on, peel that off, and I'll just line this up however I want it. I think let's go down this way slightly. So that's the first one. You can lift the leaves a little bit more once it's all sort of stuck together. And then we'll start with the next layer. So I need a slightly smaller foam pad for this one. Bear with me. I'll just stick the foam pad on, make sure that's properly stuck. And then we'll stick the next one on, we'll get this one lined up nicely. As you can see, it's kind of now taking shape. Then a smaller foam pad again. You can probably see my fingers are completely covered in ink, but it's washable. Water-based ink. Get this one lined up as well. I don't want to see any of the foam pad underneath. And then the top one, a tiny pad. I'm going to stick this pad onto the bit that I'm sticking on the top piece, if you can see that there. Just make sure I can't see it, it's just easier that way. And I'm actually going to use tweezers here so that my fingers don't hide what I'm trying to line up. Let's get that lined up nicely. And of course it's meant to look like a flower, so it doesn't matter if it's perfectly centered. I'm just going to roll up some of the leaves slightly. Just be careful when you're rolling them up that you don't accidentally crease the leaves. But there's one there, done, quite easily. So that's the first one. Actually, I'm going to pop another bit on the top there because this should have that bit which I've completely omitted. So let's just glue that on, bit of hot glue. I did think there was something missing there. There, that's better. So that's that one done. Bit of hot glue strings there, which is annoying. So first one. Next one. So this one here is basically just a flower. It's this flower shape from Design Space that's been duplicated several times in various sizes, with another flower which is the same one as the top one there, but slightly bigger, just to hide the centre, but we'll see that in a second. This one's going to get hot glued together. Let's get rid of these scrappy bits.
So to ink, this is the one I'm going to show you how I ink. I just take an ink pad. This is just a, gosh, I don't even know where I got this from. And I just fairly roughly go over it there. I like to try and get the edges so you can kind of see it when it's rolled up. But you can kind of see the colour taking shape. Just looks a bit more natural. And I find that the purple works really well with the green. But obviously, you know, whatever you want to do, silver might be quite nice. I don't know, I guess trial and error for that one. And then to roll this up, all I do is just take my thumb and gently sort of roll around the flower, just so it starts to curve. And what you want to be able to do, if you can see that there, is when you hold that there, it forms like a cone shape almost, if you can see that. And it's just a spot of hot glue, so there's a tiny bit of hot glue. And then we'll just hold that in place there. So if you can see that, it's kind of, you can see how it's lined up, if you can see that there lined up, and it's formed the cone shape. And once it's glued, that's when I curve this one. So I'm going to get my quilling tool again, and I'm curving this back the way rather than forwards. So it just takes, so I hold the quilling tool behind the card, and I kind of just roll it round like that. Just a couple of times, just so you'll see it start to roll. If you do get a crease, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Just keep rolling it round like that. Now this one's a bit more of a pain to put this one together. It does need a fair bit of hot glue. And I'm just going to make sure I've got all my right sizes lined up. So that was the biggest one. And the next one there. And there. So this is sort of fairly important, getting your sizes all lined up. And I've got the little one, like I say, just for on the top. So to start gluing together, hot glue gun, and I'm going to glue the one that I'm sticking down, so that one will be going there. And I just put a line of glue around here, fairly liberal amount. Then line this up, and I'm not going to push it down too much, just enough so that the glue kind of grabs. I'm going to hold it there just for a second. So basically the hot glue is going to drop down and sort of join it all together. I don't want them completely touching. Just let that dry for a second. Okay, and then I just carry on with the rest. Again, just line that up. Push it down slightly. I hope you can see what I'm doing there. My fingers are holding it in place. So I'm going to be careful not to move this one too much until the glue's properly dry. It will take a wee while. Again, same with the next one. I'll just pop that in place. Just push it down. I have a sneaking suspicion that one hasn't kind of stuck properly. I'm trying to do this quickly so you don't have to watch me just playing with hot glue. And the next one, I'll just push that down a little bit. I can feel the heat of the hot glue in my fingers there underneath the card. I think that's held there quite nicely. And I haven't curved this one yet, so let's curve this one. Like I say, because I'm using the quilling tool, it's got different circumferences, so it kind of makes it, you know, you can get a different effect on the curve. So if you use the end piece, which is a tiny circumference, you'll get a tighter sort of curve. But I don't want it too tight on this one anyway. Let's roll it around there. Is that drying? Yes, that's drying nicely, thankfully. So again, another line of glue. I'll just get that in place. And again, I'll just hold this there for a second, let it dry. I feel the heat of the glue, but once I stop feeling the heat, I'll know it's kind of, that's it, kind of drying there now. Perfect.
And then the top piece, I'm just going to fold these up. I'm not too worried about seeing a crease mark here because this is on the top. And what I'm going to need to do here, I'm just going to put a dab of hot glue in the center, which may just sort of slip right down. And then just pop this on. I'll use my tweezers again, I think. Perfect. Now, I know that looks probably different to what I've actually got in the picture on my post, but it's just because I've done this one slightly differently. If you curve the leaves up the way, you would get more of that look, but it's almost the same flower, to be honest, but it just shows you how much of a different look you can get between the two. So let's just put that to the side. Now the big one, which actually is one of my favourites, quite a lot of layers to this one, and for this one, again, foam pads rather than glue. I've already inked all of this, starting with the biggest one here, and basically I'm just folding up gently just at the edges, so kind of fold between there and there, I suppose. Again, once it's all sort of stuck together, you can move it around. So let's just cut a few foam pads for this, because we'll need quite a few. There's 3 to get us started. So there's number 1. First one of these that I did, I actually didn't line it up properly, but once it was all together, it was fine. So start from the bottom, we'll get these lined up, but you'll very quickly see this start to take shape. So I'll just press that down. And the next one, so I'll start at the bottom, of course. Just line that up, which I haven't done there. Trying to make sure I've got it lined up, but you can see the shape sort of taking effect already. Next foam pad, let's push that down. Obviously the foam pads give it a bit more height. Get that lined up. And like I say, it doesn't need to be perfectly lined up. I mean, it's meant to look like a natural flower, and I'm sure all natural flowers aren't perfectly lined up with their petals and leaves. It's gone flying. Let's find that again. Let's make sure I've got these the right way round. Yeah, that's the slightly bigger one. Again, line that up. A foam pad. Get rid of some of my rubbish there so I can see what I'm doing. Press that down. But yeah, I mean, you can really see the shape forming now. I'm just going to make sure this foam pad's the right side by sticking it to the back. Yeah, that's fine. Line that up as well. I did do one of these with hot glue. It still works, it's just you don't get so much height with it. I prefer the foam pads for this one. Slightly more foam pads there. Oops. And the only thing I would say with this one is just make sure you get your sizes in the correct order. It won't make too much of a difference, to be honest, if you know 2 of them are the wrong way round. But obviously it does look better if they are all the right way round. So there is the main structure done. Let's get rid of some of the rubbish. So for the top, all I did was cut these. I haven't inked these yet, so let's actually just give them a spot of ink. So just very simply, this is why my fingers get dirty, as you can probably see. I'm not putting much ink in these. I think the ink just gives it a bit more depth. You probably can't see it in the video, but you can see the purple. I'm not even sure why I chose purple to do these. I'm just going to carve these up using my fingers actually. Being careful not to crease them, because I don't really want them fully carved, I just want them kind of lifted. I'll do the same with the smaller one. And these ones will get hot glued. So just a spot of hot glue. Of course, once it's all glued together, you can then start lifting it even more. I'll just get that lined up where it needs to be. That's just going to sit in there quite nicely. So let's lift these center ones slightly. Hope you can see what I'm doing. And then lift the outer ones as well. It just forms a sort of a flower. That's fine, I think. So we can glue this onto the center. There, so that's the first three done. Which looks like I'm going to have to do another frame now to display all these flowers that I'm making. I'm just going to pull all the string off. So that's the first three done there. Now for the spiky flowers, obviously I did some of them in purple, pale green, light green like this one here. I did ink them as well, but they're so tiny and so difficult to ink once they're rolled up that I do it this way. So before I take it off the mat, I just take some scabby old brush, my ink pad, so that there's some purple in it, and I just kind of brush over the cut. And what this is doing is actually inking the edges as well. I don't concentrate too much on the outer of the spiral, because it's the inner piece there that becomes the outer bit of the flower. So that's the bit that I give a bit more attention to. It does take a wee while to build up, but it's so much quicker than doing it once it's rolled up. And again, it's completely random, meant to be a natural flower. Just brush it on there so you can kind of see it. Just kind of looks dirty, I suppose, on the camera, but and I'm kind of dreading rolling this one because I actually hate doing these rolled flowers. And I'm going to be doing it on camera for the first time ever, I think. Let's just put my lid back on the ink there. What I also do with the rolled flowers, I peel them off the mat like this. Fine tidy. It also it helps it to start curving actually. And then I take my quilling tool. Let's get that in there, and we'll just start rolling round. I don't need to show you how to roll flowers, I'm sure. We'll just keep rolling that round there. Until I'm happy with it. I do find with some of these that the sort of suckle that's meant to become the bottom of the flower, they tend to be smaller than you really want them to be. I'm just going to let that open up slightly, like that. I'll hold that there. Dab of hot glue, this is the fun bit. Just stick that down there, I'll just push it down until it's holding, which I think it is now. Yes, that's held nicely, and then it's just a case of pushing the leaves out. And you probably won't see it on the camera, but I can certainly see it here that you can see where the ink's been. Of course, if you want, once it's, you can just maybe go over it again if you wanted to, just to give a bit more colour. But actually, these are really simple, just spiky flowers, and really quite effective and look great when they're in, with all the rest of them. I think they're actually quite lovely. So that's sort of the bulk of the flowers. I've not done any of the leaves in this video. But if you cut out sort of my file, the leaves are sort of fairly self-explanatory, really. Popping them into the frame, again, completely random. I just started in one corner and worked my way around. I didn't plan it at all. Once everything was in, I did have to cut more just to fill in some gaps. But I went with the sort of green ones in various sizes. So the file itself has got the spike ones in different sizes. There's also the little ones that look more like roses, the little purple ones in my frame. But you can add anything you want to it, you know, any leaves that you want. Design Space has got thousands of flowers and leaves and patterns and designs. And I've used, obviously, flowers that aren't necessarily succulents. They're just flowers, but they've been adapted to look like succulents, which is the beauty of images in Design Space. They're very, very easy to manipulate and change them to suit your needs. So there you are. That's the sort of 3 main flowers. The spiky flower. Enjoy making your own ones.